Thank you, Tero. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We wish to thank the organizers and President Grimson of reaching us out and inviting the AEC to discuss and exchange ideas with you today in this plenary. We saw the business areas a couple of minutes ago, which we have chosen to start with. And the elaboration of these overarching themes took place within our inaugural meeting last September. So within the broader AEC consisting of 42 people, we thought that these are the themes which would be across the Arctic and across the businesses as the overarching themes where the business community sees problems and where the business community sees rooms for development. So it's going to be 5 themes, and we'll start with the first one, which is establishing strong market connections between Arctic states. So what is the background for this? The basic idea is that within each area of the Arctic, you have certain know-how or you have certain technologies or best available services. And those might be needed on another part of the Arctic. However, we face situations of protectionism throughout the globe, which is also the case within the Arctic. So you can actually argue that the current barriers of trade, let us take an example from Finland and Norway, where we should need cross-border employee export and import. And that's hindered because of national legislations. A simple issue, an example. So that actually may endanger the sustainable development. And therefore we also count that the current TTIP negotiations and the CETA negotiations are also of high importance for the Arctic areas as well. Actually, it's said here that it's the Arctic states, but it's also to the Arctic and from the Arctic. So let us also think this from a global perspective. Second, creating stable and predictable regulatory frameworks. So what is this all about? This is all about decisions of making investments. Companies invest capital into business opportunities throughout the world, which is the case also within the Arctic. And it is fair to expect that the companies may have return on their investments. So that's why with the regulatory scheme, we should be able to rely that the regulations which are at hand and within the foreseeable future will be also valid and not hindering the return on investment. Simultaneously, we seek for a situation that the regulations should be as unified as possible throughout the Arctic. We have examples where you have, for instance, emissions regulations which vary a lot from one Arctic area to another, giving challenges to, for instance, the shipping operators. Theme number 3. Within the Arctic, we have only 4 million taxpayers. Yet again, we have vast distances and huge areas. The Banff Island only is double the size of Finland, with 10,000 people living in there. In Finland, you have 5.5 million people living. So the investments required for the Arctic require a lot of capital. Can we take that from the 4 million taxpayers? I think no. So public-private partnerships gives us the opportunity to leverage the forthcoming cost of the investments required to develop the Arctic for the good of the northern communities. Theme number 4, facilitating knowledge and data exchange between industry and academia. We have acknowledged that there has been a situation where science has been somewhere and business has been somewhere and indigenous people have been somewhere. We should work together. And we have a great example of this where the Arctic Futures initiative of IASA has been produced and it's been introduced here as well yesterday. So this is a great example where the science community and business community are working together to develop the Arctic and the best technologies for the Arctic in the future. And finally, it's the traditional indigenous knowledge, stewardship, and focus on small businesses. Well, let us consider a situation that we're a big multinational. We can get our voices heard. But let us consider that we are taking care of the Anders reindeer husbandry. Can he get his voice heard? I'm not sure. So that's why we should take care of that part as well, and bearing in mind that the tomorrow's big enterprises are the today's small and medium enterprises, often run by the indigenous peoples. To conclude, the AEC way and the principles, it's collaboration, it's partnerships, we encourage innovation, and we would like to keep the Arctic area, of course, as a stable area of peace. With these key messages, it's providing recommendations and guidance. Although we're an independent organization, we seek for recommendations and guidance and provide that also to the Arctic Council. We're definitely a voice for small and medium enterprise owners. We would like to convene the industry experts and invite experts to work in our working groups. We'll include the indigenous and local knowledge. We seek for strategic partnerships. We definitely promote responsible Arctic investment and development programs. And importantly, we need to act as a platform for Arctic to Arctic business enterprises, providing networking, and also resourcing non-Arctic interests. So with these words, I would like to conclude and thank you and hand it over to the chair. Thank you.